Let's do the Crowder thing. This is the last time I ever defend someone I don't like.
Does he pump his arms up with like a ball inflator device?
No, olive oil.
That's disgusting.
He's like that Serbian guy who put the olive oil in his muscles so he can.
I remember that guy. It's gross.
Yesterday, I said, guys, because people in the chat were going, Aaron, talk about Crowder's divorce. Aaron, talk about Crowder's divorce. I'm like, guys, no. Crowder isn't talking about it. It's a very personal thing. No wives, no kids, nothing like that. I'm not going there. Everyone else can tweet it because it trended on Twitter. Everyone else can tweet it. Everyone else can talk about it. I'm not doing it. That's not okay. That's his story to tell, and he wants to keep it private. We should keep it that way. I don't know if I'm some kind of fucking conduit for cosmic things happening in the universe, but about an hour after I said that to my audience, after I took this very personal moral stand to take a guy that I can't fucking stand, like Steven Crowder, who I think is full of shit, treated Dave Landau like garbage.
Lies.
Probably treated Sven Computer like garbage, not Gay Jared like garbage, Owen Benjamin like shit.
Dave Landau.
Dave Landau, as I said.
Oh.
Treated all of them like shit. And I think he's a phony, and I think he's a con man, and I think he's a huckster, all of that shit. But people seem to like him. He's got a big audience. I drew the line at the divorce thing because if he ain't talking about it, I don't think we should talk about it. That is a private thing, not to be told. And I applauded Stephen Colbert.
Whoa.
Sorry. I applauded Steven Crowder for not talking about the divorce. Don't address it. It's not part of the show. Let it go.
Not relevant.
Yesterday, the motherfucker goes on a 6-minute rant about his divorce on his show.
Oh.
Mersh raised a great point on Nightwave yesterday. If his wife has if there's some kind of NDA, this just took that NDA and threw it right out the window. Yep. Because if you have an NDA on someone, but then you start talking about the thing,
it's over.
Rip it up. You can say whatever the fuck you want.
And he made her sign one. He makes everyone sign NDAs.
Yeah, you gotta. I mean, the person has to sign it. There is that. But then she might sign it thinking, oh, well, then he's not going to talk about it either.
That's what I think.
Steven Crowder is one of those guys who is insane, just a little below the surface. And all you have to do, it's like the Joker, just one little push, and he'll snap. And I think we're there. I don't think he should have talked about it. I don't think he should have addressed it. I don't think it helps anyone. And he's going to keep saying his kids, his kids, his kids, his kids. And let me tell you, as people with kids, I can tell you right now, there's no benefit in you bringing them up in this way.
Doesn't matter.
There is no benefit in bringing this up. It doesn't help them. It hurts them, so on and so forth. There's a disgusting part of me, and unfortunately, you should listen. When it comes to Crowder, you should listen to that disgusting part of you that goes, oh, this is a really cheap fucking ploy to get out of something. And you go, no, I'm not going to listen to that ugly part of me because that's a really gross thing to think. But with Crowder, it always ends up being the thing that he's doing.
Oh, every time.
You're like, oh, there's a really gross part of me that says he's doing this Stop Big Con thing because of something personal with some organization, maybe the Daily Wire, but, he wouldn't lie about this contract just openly to misrepresent it. And what happened? He openly lied about the contract to misrepresent it, and he turned down $50 million and asked for $123. So I should have listened to my gut.
Yeah.
Did I listen to my gut this time on the divorce thing?
Nope.
No. Because my gut was telling me, dude, just talk about the fucking divorce. It's trending news. Your show deals in trending news. That's the whole thing of your show, is making trending news funny for normies and whatnot, and then making the psychotic people feel a little better about their anxiety. That's your whole gimmick. So talk about the trending news. I'm like, not my story to tell, and Crowder ain't going to talk about it. Looking back now at yesterday me, today's going, you fucking idiot.
Okay.
Crowder's not going to talk about it. Crowder's getting his dick kicked in right now by Dave Landau, and he uses his fucking divorce to take the heat off the Landau shit. Again, the guy's garbage.
Yes, but I also think that our show is going about it the right way. I would not have wanted to be on the show with you yesterday discussing this before he did. Right. I don't think that's proper. But
I don't think he should have.
I don't think he should have either. And if this was my divorce, I wouldn't be talking about it.
And now, look at how ugly it is now. He throws a little bit of shade at the soon-to-be ex-wife while saying he loves her. And then he's now
Isn't that what they all do?
he's kind of threatening to sue Candace Owens. And now we're going back to Candace Owens. Now, remember in January when the Daily Wire stuff happened, Candace Owens roasted Crowder over that. And now he went back and played a clip of Candace Owens that makes a lot of sense now, but none of us really saw when it happened. Let's watch Crowder talk about his divorce. And by the way, this clip is going to explain a lot of his psychotic behavior the last 2 years. And maybe why he's been taking such long breaks lately.
Maybe.
Honestly, I'm going to say this about Crowder because he does have a big audience. They're very loyal to him. I think he's going to survive this. I think he'll survive the Landau thing. I think he'll still have success and he'll still make a lot of money. However, this might be a good time for a break.
Yeah. Take an actual one now and get your shit figured out.
I know he's only been back for a couple of months, but like I may think Crowder's a huckster and all this other stuff, but I don't think he's evil in like a Lex Luthor kind of way. I think he's remarkably selfish, arrogant, and narcissistic, but I don't think he's like kill people evil. Yeah. And I don't want to see a human being with a lot of fans and then kids and all this other shit. I don't want to see him break down and do something and become a shell of a human and totally fucking break from reality. I don't want to see that. Maybe it's time for this guy to take a couple of steps back for a while. But he's too much of a theater kid. He's too driven by the likes and the clicks and the views, as to an extent we all are. And I don't think this guy knows how to take a backward step. Here's Crowder talking about his divorce.
I have been living with a proverbial boot on my neck for going on years now. Since 2021, I've been living through what has increasingly been a horrendous divorce. Now, let me say on the outset, to be clear, there is no infidelity, any kind of physical abuse at all on either side. And no, this was not my choice. My then wife decided that she didn't want to be married anymore. And in the state of Texas, that is completely permitted.
That's pretty much every state in the country that's legally permitted. I mean, what are we going to put Steven Crowder in a top hat and a Monopoly mustache and going, she needs to go to Reno?
I do believe that should be allowed everywhere.
Right.
You shouldn't be forcing adults to be with each other if they don't want to be. Do you know how many problems that causes?
Someone shouldn't be trapped in a relationship they hate.
No, that's not good.
Because you know what that leads to? She can't get divorced. Okay, so she's going to fuck around. He's going to catch her, and now somebody's going to die.
It does lead to domestic abuse.
It's going to lead to some bad shit.
Yeah.
So Crowder says she decided she didn't want to be married anymore. So doing this publicly, throwing the complete onus on her, she decided she didn't want to be married to me anymore, throwing the pity party. Already 30 seconds into this is the reason why I didn't think he should have addressed it on the show. There's no way of addressing this specifically that makes you look like a good guy.
No, that's why I think you just don't.
You know how you maybe handle this if you want to? I think you don't talk about it at all. But it's a 30-second thing. You go, guys, I see the rumors on the internet. They are true. I am going through a divorce. I just hope you respect my privacy at this time. That's all I'm going to say about it. Quick statement. You know how we make fun of those lawyery statements that people release? There's a reason that people release those. They don't give anyone any insider information, nothing to read into, and you've addressed it and you can move on.
Well, guess what? That's because you don't need the information as an outsider. It doesn't affect you. It has nothing to do with you.
Quick question for you, April. Do you think he turned on the rant light?
For himself, I believe he's in a studio alone.
Do you think Gerald and everybody running the board in the back, do you think he turned on the rant light so they knew not to talk during Crowder's divorce thing?
Maybe.
It was the shut the fuck up Dave light on when he was talking about his divorce.
Maybe now that Dave's not there, he doesn't need it.
Maybe he doesn't need it anymore. Or as Dave Landau said, they used it less and less once I told them how insulting I found it to be. So anyway, Crowder wants you to know as he addresses this divorce situation, it's 110% his wife's fault, and now we're going to continue on.
It's been the most heartbreaking experience of my life, what I consider to be my deepest personal failure. And just so you know, my opinions on parenting and families have not changed. I've always believed that children need a mom and a dad, that divorce is horrible. And I still believe that children need a mom and a dad and that divorce is horrible.
Steven, they're still going to have a mom and a dad.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And they'll probably have a happier mom and a dad.
That's always been our take, right? Why would
Yeah.
you want two unhappy parents in a household? That's not going to be a good example for the kids.
You'll
They'll be
probably
miserable.
have two new good people who are going to help as well. And now all four, they got four people.
That's the best
pulling
hope.
for them. That's the best hope that you have, Steven.
Absolutely.
I mean, I doubt that your wife would have been a better mother to your children if she resents you and hates you and doesn't like you.
And has to live around you.
Look, I'm not saying that either of those options are ideal, but one of them is like really, really ugly. And we've seen it historically in this country, what happens to people when they're forced to live that way. It's not good. And also, I'm going to say this unironically. I know this is going to sound like an attempt at humor. It's not.
Okay.
I do believe in my heart of hearts that Steven Crowder, how do I say this? I believe that Steven Crowder is maybe suppressing some things. And that maybe with this, Steven Crowder can stop suppressing those things and be a happier person. Because the guy we hear from Dave Landau and the guy we'd probably hear from Not Gay Jared and the guy we've heard about from Candace Owens and Jeremy Boring and Ben Shapiro, it's not a happy guy.
No, I think he's just afraid of the change because it is a big change, obviously. But that's the thing. People don't see like that there could be positives to come from it. Like this divorce only sucks for him because this is forcing him to change how he's living.
And he's a multimillionaire.
He didn't want it.
He's a multimillionaire. It makes sense that it's taking 2 years. There's a lot to divvy up there. Does she get part of Louder with Crowder? I'm going to tell you right now, in a court of law, probably. Because if you're there for the beginning of something, they're going to award part of it to you. Wives, ex-wives in divorce proceedings and stuff get a lot of credit for the support system. And in fairness, guys do too.
Okay.
If a woman starts
as long
something,
as it goes both ways.
yeah, if a woman starts something and a guy is there and they had any hand in supporting it, even if it was, especially if it was quitting a job, then you're going to get a piece of that.
Well, it is nice to see that something goes both ways for both the male and the female.
Yeah.
But
That's
in
good.
today's legal system, my beliefs don't matter. In Texas, divorce is permitted when one party wants it, period. So for well over a year, in the best interest as well as physical safety of my children, we've decided to keep this issue private and to resolve it privately with the appropriate attorneys, what have you.
That's where you stop this conversation, right?
That's where you stop. This is
was
my
it.
thing. It's like, and look, man, I'm a talk show host too. I get it. You want to say everything. You want to get it all out there. But sometimes that doesn't help, especially in a situation like this. Yeah, you know how many guys like me there are going to be now who are like, dude, I wasn't going to talk about this. I thought this was not okay.
I still feel uncomfortable.
But it's because he's addressing it. And he's going too far in addressing it. He feels he has to. Don't.
He feels that he owes people something, I think. Plus, it throws
Yeah.
the heat off of the Dave Landau stuff. And
And see, that's why I hate his guts, is because he's been going through this for 1.5 to 2 years. But only the day after Dave Landau has been setting him on fire publicly.
yeah.
And the compound media stuff
And
is
now
getting
it's
hundreds of thousands of views on
Yeah.
YouTube. Only now is Steven Crowder bringing out the news that he's known about for 2 years.
Yeah,
It feels like a dodge, and it's fucking gross.
That is gross.
And and some people are saying, well, he's a public figure, so fuck it. People can talk about whatever. Sure, maybe. But I was always told in broadcasting, anybody I ever worked for said the same thing. Hey, man, you're allowed a private life too. And you get to choose what you keep private. Now, unfortunately, unfortunately for Steven, divorce is not a private thing. It's filed. It's public knowledge. You can look it up. You can see. So
I agree with that take, though, like what you just said you were told in broadcasting, that you're allowed a private life. But however, I will say, against what you just said, there are times where I wish that I could have some things in my life private. And you told me that once I sign up for this, that's not realistic.
it's not.
It's totally not. Like,
It's not.
so I don't get a private life.
You do get a private life. You get to choose what you share. 100%.
Most of it's out there, though.
Anything that's public is public. But you do get to have shit to yourself. There is stuff you can decide not to talk about.
Sure, but people will do it for you.
Fuck them. Who cares?
You
You
no,
get
I'm
to
not.
decide
I'm
what's
not
private.
trying to argue. I'm
Yeah.
just
legal jargon.
Unrealistic.
Now, in all this, one thing I want to be really clear about is certain. True north here is that my children are blameless, completely without fault.
Always.
And so we decided to resolve these issues privately.
Okay, but Steven, this is where the human shield shit comes in. Nobody was blaming your children for your divorce. This reminds me of when Leno was getting the Tonight Show back, and he goes, hey, I don't want you guys to blame Conan. Jay, as Letterman said, in the thousands of words that have been spoken about all this, nobody has blamed Conan.
No.
Hey, guys, I don't want you to think that Conan threw himself out of a great job. Crowder going, hey, my kids are blameless. Dude, nope. What are you combating? The millions of people who are currently blaming you? If it wasn't for those damn Crowder kids, none of this would have ever happened.
Isn't that something? Is there ever a situation where a divorce would get blamed on kids? I can't think of one, and I'm not just projecting because we have kids here.
Maybe if your kids were the Menendez brothers, maybe, but then they just kill you. So
yeah, that's not the same
that's not a
situation
divorce
at all.
As it's in their best interests, both emotionally and physically, to do so. Now, the other issue is, and this is something that I've kept private for likely far too long, many other people knew about this behind the scenes. Some, not all, but some of them in positions of power, influence, leverage, knew of this. They also knew that the safety of my children included keeping it private. So if you're familiar with the idea,
why do we keep going on the safety of his children thing?
Safety of his children thing.
He's brought that up, I believe, 4 times now. The physical safety of my children. Nobody wants to touch your kids.
Look, man, I'll tell you this. If somebody were putting pictures of his kids out there and talk, like we've dealt with that from numerous jealous people.
Which is sick.
If they if they do that shit about your kids, absolutely, 100%, you should say that and you should stand up to that. Nobody, I will say this, the internet can be shitty sometimes. But when it comes to this Steven Crowder divorce thing, before he addressed it, all they did was show the paperwork, the publicly filed paperwork. That's all people showed in regard to the Crowder stuff.
I do wonder, though, why he keeps bringing up the physical safety of his children.
For the same reason he's always brought up fight like hell, fight big con, fight big tech. It's a smokescreen,
right,
so he can go off and do what he wants to do.
It does feel like we're causing alarm here for some reason.
This is feel bad for me. Don't listen to Dave Landau. This is what's sick to me is, like I said yesterday is the last time I ignore my impulse. I ignore my instincts on Steven Crowder because they betrayed me. I'm like, he hasn't talked about it. Leave it the fuck alone. Tell your audience, look, this is not something that needs to be public. And then he goes and, does a woe is me, feel bad for me rant on his show the day after Dave Landau was lighting him up. So forgive me, but I'm going to believe the worst of intentions out of Steven Crowder from now on.
I think that's fine, but I think it's only fine to talk about it once he has.
I believe he's talking about this in a very manipulative way to garner sympathy for himself and get the talk off of. It's ironic that he keeps saying my kids are not part of this, but he keeps referencing his kids in a way to throw the scent off the Landau I'm a piece of shit trail.
No.
I don't like it.
Idea of extortion, then you know the feeling well. Now, some of these threats were so thinly veiled that I'm frankly surprised you didn't all guess immediately.
Steve.
So now he's getting into his accusations of extortion. Candace Owens, you'll remember when the Daily Wire stuff was going on. Candace works for the Daily Wire. And she was the dirtiest, nastiest foot soldier in that whole thing. Jeremy Boring kept it very businesslike. Ben Shapiro kept it businesslike with a little bit of a yarmulke dagger twist in there. But Candace Owens fought fucking dirty.
Was the Candace Owens thing maybe the reason he was so shitty to the Daily Wire?
No. All this happened after.
Oh, okay.
All this happened
My
after.
timeline's clearly.
So Candace Owens went and kind of dragged Steven Crowder through the mud. And I'll be honest with you. When he talks about extortion, when he talks about people being legally liable, he's going to play this Candace Owens rant for us. And we all forgot about it. But let's listen back to it. Steven Crowder, look, give the devil his due. He may have a point on extortion here. Let's check it out.
Surprised you didn't all guess immediately.
Steven has a lot going on. I guess is the best way to say it. He has a lot going on, and that should be clear because people don't do stuff like this if there's not a lot going on in their
Not
life.
wrong.
I would like to implore my audience and everybody that isn't paying attention to this situation not to condemn him, but to pray for him. Sometimes people need a prayer. Sometimes people need a scripture. You know, Stephen purports to be a Christian. I am unsure at this moment if it is my place to say more than that. You know, maybe if I feel in further defense, some things should be said, or maybe if I feel that the public has a right to understand certain circumstances.
Say what, look, I got to be fair. I don't like Crowder. She's a fucking bitch.
Yeah, that was nasty.
That is a shitty fucking thing to do. And he's right. That was so thinly veiled. I'm surprised none of us saw it back then. Maybe some people did.
Right. What is Crowder going through? Does he have cancer?
That is a shitty that is such a passive-aggressive, cunty, bad ex-girlfriend move to pull of like, well, I know some things about him, but I don't think I'm going to say them right now.
As they proceed to just barely down the road.
What up? Like
I mean, wait for that. She's going to talk about it now.
Well, and this is the thing. This is what people on the right, guys, I keep telling you, don't pick sides. These people are all monsters. These people are all out for your brain. They're all zombies. They're all trying to eat you, and now they're eating each other. Candace Owens was not a good guy in any of this. Steven Crowder was not a good guy in any of this. They're both sociopaths. They're both nuts. They're both going after control. That's what that speech from Candace Owens was about. Mm-hmm. Controlling the power in the situation, controlling the power dynamic. Well, you know, I know shit about Steven, and you guys should pray for him. You conceited bitch. You don't give a shit if people pray for him or not.
That's a very woman thing to do.
That's a very woman thing to do.
Boy, is that a woman thing to do.
So I got to say, Candace Owens does white woman very well.
Yes, she does.
That's why the Daily Wire hired her. But to do that whole, he needs your prayers right now. And then here's where the extortion thing comes in. And this is where Steven has a point. And usually when you have bad guys on each side, like Candace Owens and Crowder, they're both going to make a good point.
Yep.
Because even though they're a piece of shit, they are talking about another piece of shit.
People that think they have an inside to things, though, like Candace Owens did here, she knew. Of course she knew. Like she knows things about Crowder's personal life that nobody else knows yet. And so let's just not quite say it all, but let's needle it.
But then the part where the extortion comes in is where she goes, I hope I don't have to say anything in the future in further defense of myself. That is extortion. That's her telling Crowder, you fuck with me, you say anything about me, I'll drop the big bomb on you. Mm-hmm. That's a threat.
Yep.
That is a threat, pure and simple. And, actionable ? He may not get any money out of it, but he can tie her up.
Yep.
That's a worthwhile case to hear.
It's a little smack, you know, put her in her place.
Well, my children have a right to privacy. Now, some other issues have been, or I should say...
does he have airplanes?
Yeah, he does. It's not here.
Inferences have been more pernicious behind the scenes with demands and threats to use this information that they believe would be so publicly embarrassing to me and my wife at a difficult time that it could be used, knowingly putting my children in harm's way. So
children,
self-styled Christians, conservatives, and allies, well, not in my book. Now, if you find yourself, I don't want to get into details, so this is going to likely be the only time I have to address this or want to address this. If you're asking yourself, hey, did X person or did Y person know? The answer is likely yes.
Okay, that's interesting because that means Glenn Beck knew. That means Ben Shapiro knew. Jeremy Boring knew. All of these people knew, and they didn't say anything.
Yep.
I mean, so they deserve a little bit of credit.
They won't get it.
You didn't need to tell all these fucking people. But
yeah, why did you tell people?
They might have found out. But, I mean, Candace Owens is the only one who ran her big fucking mouth about the whole thing. And now looking back on it, that was a dog shit heel maneuver.
Yes.
That she pulled.
Absolutely.
Which will be made alarmingly clear as this process of discovery continues. And it also, by the way, makes me that much more appreciative of those who did know about this and in understanding the best interests of my family, my children, kept their word and used discretion.
So maybe an apology to Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring is in order?
Well, maybe that was it.
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough. Sincerely, I appreciate it. Won't forget it.
Thanks, Glenn.
It's pretty simple. I loved a woman so much that I married her. A woman who, despite all of this, I still love as the mother of my children. And she wanted something else for her life. That's not my choice. She simply wanted out, and the law says that that's how it works. Now, of course,
The law says that's how it works. He's saying it like that's the wrong thing. It's like, what are you supposed to do? Be able to chain her to a radiator and make her stay somewhere where she's not happy? I mean, you hear about how Crowder treats his employees. You hear about how Crowder treats other people that he's around.
It's usually not going to be far from how you treat people in your personal life.
I mean, is it that hard to believe that Crowder doesn't treat anyone really that well? Or maybe not even not treat them that well, but treats Crowder well first. And as long as your interests align with Crowder, you can keep going. We all have that impulse. But here's how a relationship works. When you have that impulse, you adjust it for that other person. And that's a two-way street. You don't just barrel forward and barrel through and just, knock over shit. And you don't treat your wife like you treat Dave Landau or Not Gay Jared. And I mean, judging by how things are going, he might have treated everyone that way.
Maybe.
Who knows?
she simply wanted out, and the law says that that's how it works. Now, of course, look, I get it. There are multiple sides to every story, but one thing that is undeniable in this case is that it's no one's fault but my own in that I picked wrong. And
that's the part that pissed me off.
That's a struggle for me.
Fuck you, dude.
That one's a struggle because there was at one point, too, where I'm assuming she did care for you,
yes.
Stephen, or she wouldn't have married you.
Right.
And
people don't just wake up one day and go, I don't really like him that much. I want to get divorced.
Relationships that crumble.
Yeah. There's usually a long struggle and they try so fucking hard and they really attempt to get through to the other person that, hey, this isn't working for me. I need this. I need that. And by the way, in my opinion, this is an old episode of Scrubs. Dr. Cox said this basically. Every relationship has that point. Mm-hmm. And if there's the relationships that don't last are where people get angry and they get mad and they get pissed and then it dies. And then there's the good relationships where at least one person stands up for it. And those of us who are still together, we all go through those fights and those points, and people come to a compromise and they change. That's called a partnership. It can't be a dictatorship. It has to be a partnership. The ones that fall apart is where someone's miserable, they're upset, they've Steven's probably been told how he makes this person feel.
Well, yeah.
And the changes don't get made, and you suffer in silence for a long time until you finally go, this isn't the route I wanted to take, but I've got to do something for me.
We've all been there, whether it's a divorce or a breakup.
Yeah.
There's always been somebody in a relationship where they're like, oh my God, I care about this person, but this is not working at all.
Most breakups and divorces have this moment in them. Don't make me do this.
Right.
Like people who break up or divorce, they're like, I'm ready to do this. Give me a reason not to. And again, the ones that stick around, do something. The ones that don't, get prideful. And does it surprise anyone that Steven Crowder's prideful?
No.
that's certainly not the fault of my children.
Nobody's saying it is.
Stop saying that.
And I will say that what's in the best interest of my children is not internet drama, speculation, certainly not blatant or veiled shakedowns or dragging their father or
going on 6-minute rants referencing your children multiple times and saying you picked wrong. Slyly dragging your ex-wife. Any divorce lawyer will tell you, don't fucking go public and start talking shit.
It never makes you look better than the other person.
And everyone thinks that if you slyly or subtly talk shit, it doesn't count. I got news for you. It fucking counts. Because when there's lawyers and shit involved, every whisper is amplified by 1,000. So even if you say something like, I picked wrong, that yells, that shouts, that screams when you say shit like that.
What a bad thing, though. I picked wrong. Yeah, all of us can say, wow, obviously I was with the wrong person when you're after the fact, You're after the breakup now. But it's that wasn't the case at the time. You thought you were doing the
Yeah.
best with what you had.
You don't get to say, I still love this person. I mean, he's painting himself as the victim. Like, this woman is dragging me through this divorce and I don't want to, and I love her so much. He's Robin Thicke. And who was the girlfriend that he kept following around?
Oh, God, I don't remember.
I can't remember her name.
I
She
only
was the
remember
model.
Emily Ratajkowski.
No, that's the one who accused him of
that's
fucking around in the
only-
video.
That's the Robin Thicke
Paulina
stuff.
something. I can't remember. He was either married or dating this woman for a long time, and she left him, and he kept posting social media shit, begging her to come back and blah blah blah. So you can't be. You either have to go full Robin Thicke. Robin. Alan's his dad. Okay, Alan's Jason Seaver. You either have to go full Robin Thicke, or you have to burn the fucking house down, or shut the fuck up about it. You either have to go full on, I still love her and she's dragging me through this and it's really sad for me. Or you have to go, fuck this bitch, let me tell you something. Or you have to do option C and go, I'm going through a divorce. It's really tough right now. It's a struggle of mine. Respect my privacy during this time. Let's get on with the show.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You don't do this thing where you go, and she wants it and I don't, and that's the law, and then I picked wrong. Because that's basically you being very political, going, I'm sad and I don't want a divorce and she does. That fucking bitch! It's
a very manic behavior.
Right.
Wow.
Mother, and I can't be clear on that enough, or their mother through the mud. And to anyone who tries it, I'm no longer going to pacify, capitulate, or sidestep because I love them a whole lot more than I love you.
But, okay, and I'll defend Candace Owens here. This is what happens when it's two pieces of shit. You go back and forth defending both of them. She didn't do that.
No.
She did a shitty thing. She did a really passive-aggressive, cunty maneuver. She didn't blame your kids. She didn't drag your wife. Nobody's doing any of this shit.
Most people don't care enough about the wife and kids because they're not part of what they're watching for.
Let's be frank about it. Most people just hate you and are glad to see you're not doing well.
Right.
That's what it is.
That's it. They're thrilled to see that you're miserable right now.
If anything, the people talking about your divorce are probably really happy for your wife.
Yeah.
In a way, they're not dragging her in any way, shape, or form. So this guy, I mean, why is everything with him a manipulation? Why is everything with him a fucking Game of Thrones Littlefinger move with this motherfucker? It can never be straightforward.
Well, we don't understand people like that because we're not them.
And I will continue to do whatever is necessary to protect my children. Discussing the divorce any further on social media or on this show or in any public space is not what's best for them.
I would argue that this isn't good for them.
No, you already opened the door.
Yeah.
This is like saying sorry one time and now they make you apologize for everything. Now you've opened that door. You already talked about it.
I'll be handling this through the proper legal avenues and channels available as a matter of record in which I have more than full confidence. So I'd ask that you understand the need for and respect our privacy in what is obviously a pretty tough time. And I hope that none of this has to go any further than that.
So there's the threat at the end, the lawsuit threat at the end. So Candace Owens threatening him. He's threatening Candace Owens. Everybody's threatening everybody. This whole fucking right-wing shit show is, burning to the ground.
Really did use the kids a lot in that, too.
Yeah. Camel Toe with $5 says Crowder is like a scorned, passive-aggressive woman. Yeah, it's like all these conservative people are the same. They're all just little backbiting bitches, I can't, man. That whole thing, it's weird to watch situations where there's just no good guy. It's so weird to watch a heel program.
It's hard to stand up for somebody.
Yeah, Zen Rhino with a great point. The only one attacking your wife is you, Steven. Yep. The only one putting your kids in danger is you. You won't shut the fuck up about it. Look, you can say, but hey, man, it was on social media. Well, yeah, it's a public document. Everything's on social media. You get to choose what's on your show. You get to choose what you talk about. You don't have to fucking address it.
And he had multiple micro attacks towards his soon-to-be ex-wife in that 6 minutes there. And multiple.
And there was no, what do you call it? There's no details in that divorce settlement or a settlement in that announcement. People could have shared that until Kingdom Come. They would have known no details.
Right.
They would have known anything that's going on. And they would have.
And they don't need to.
And they don't need to. You let them in. You did that. This is where having a Glenn back This is where having a Blaze TV, this is where having a CRTV, I can't remember that guy's name, Mark Levin, comes in handy for Crowder. And this is why he may not make it on his own. Somebody needs to be there to
handle him.
Pat Steven on the shoulder and go, hey, man, why don't you just fucking take it easy?
Yeah.
Why don't you just relax a little bit, chill? And, ironically, who would have been a great kind of guide for him during this, and a guy who's gone through divorces and been through alcoholism and struggles?
Glenn Beck.
If he would have embraced Glenn Beck and he would have been humble and prostrated himself in front of Glenn Beck and went, dude, I'm going through a tough time. Do you have any advice for me? You have a valuable resource. And you know what Glenn Beck probably would have told him?
What's that?
Don't say a fucking word on your show.
Right.
Nobody's business.
I have a hard time even thinking to myself about public couples that would go through a divorce, people that do look at us, shows together. I don't even know what I would say.
Right.
If we were to, God forbid, get divorced.
Oh man. Yeah, because April got fat or something.
I got fat and he's like, I just can't even.
I just can't do it.
I can't do it.
Yeah, but Aaron, weren't you 220, 225 most of the time during your marriage? It's not about me.
But for the safety of my kids, I'm not going to talk about it.
Yes. KJ Fury says, I kind of knew he wasn't hitting it right. John Rio says, he blasted out 50 push-ups before turning on the camera so he would look swole.
That's what I always wonder. Does he buy shirts that are purposefully just that tight, just make everything look plump and fucking raging?
KF with $5 says, Steven just isn't used to not having control. This divorce will break him. I'll be honest. I've been around the internet long enough now to know that nobody breaks, nobody dies, nobody gets destroyed, Crowder will survive this. Crowder will still have an audience. Crowder will still make good money. He's got too many fans and too many people that really love him to be able to completely lose everything.
Sure.
Obviously, he's going through a divorce, so the life's going to change a little bit. But he'll still be around. He will, like Dave Landau said, he'll survive this. He's got a huge audience.
I do get what they said about the power struggle, not having control and stuff. That does really shake some people.
Yeah. Matt Joe says maybe she got sick of him being 5 minutes late home and having a row of lights on the wall. Oh no, he had a don't talk button at home.
He had a rant button at home.
Oh no.
Yikes.
KJ Fury says, I feel bad for the gay community. They're always crying about it. Life sounds horrible. Oh, Stevens. Mr. Approachable says, to me, it sounds like someone has been talking shit about his kids and ex, and he just snapped about it. That's the thing. I haven't seen one clip of anybody doing that.
I was going to say that during the video, that now if somebody was talking shit about his soon-to-be ex-wife and kids, that is a problem.
In my opinion, he is deflecting the Dave Landau shit and trying to make it look noble. That's my opinion. NFC App says Glenn Beck doesn't own Blaze. He sold it years ago, but he does still work there. You're right. It's owned by Mercury One or whatever. You are correct about that, sir. KF says, don't shit on my take, Aaron. LOL. I want to see him break and embrace his gay side. Well, can he embrace his gay side without breaking? Perhaps. Yosemite Sambo says Hillary Crowder is only hot in one picture. Guys, see, now
I didn't even know her name.
This is where the internet. I mean? Oh no, he talked about her numerous times on his show.
I didn't watch enough. Plot twist: I didn't watch Crowder.
Oh really? That's too bad. He got tired of her. She got tired of him playing that drop every time he came. It's unfortunate. So yeah, the Crowder thing. I just feel like an idiot. Fucking idiot,
I don't think
man.
so. I'm
a fucking idiot. I'm a fucking idiot.
Fine, you're an idiot.
Because I said yesterday, I go, guys, not something to talk about. Let's not discuss this. This doesn't need to be.
All things are amendable, based on what happens going forward. People forget that on the internet, too, that people don't get to change what they've said, based on new things that have came out.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I do think that was the appropriate thing to say. He's not talking about it, therefore it is not the thing to talk about. Okay, After that show, he talked about it. Oh, so now it is up for discussion. Yeah. Things have changed.
The whole Crowder thing is just really, it's a fucking mess. You don't wish it on anybody, but at the same time, He's under a lot. This is what's happening with Crowder. He's under a lot of stress and he's handling it poorly. If I were a lawyer, I would have called Steven after that segment and I would have gone, dude, I wish you would have fucking told me we're planning on doing that. We could have put something together. You and I went on the show, handled this the right way, but you had to throw passive-aggressive shade at everybody and then play the victim.
The weird threats in there and stuff like that. And then I picked wrong. Look, everybody after a really, really shitty marriage or like relationship has ended can say, look, I clearly picked an awful person to be with. I clearly fucked up there.
You can't say
it.
I love her.
Right, you can't say both.
Yeah.
I would never go say, oh, God, I just love my ex-boyfriends so much, but fuck them. They were fucking awful, Okay.
Now,
everything.
in fairness, that does sound like something a white woman would do.
That does sound like I might say that, but...
So Crowder is a white woman, is what you're saying.
Yes.
So we have Candace Owens and Steven Crowder. We have a fight between two white ladies.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
Oh, dude, Bobby Lee kind of pulls that, though. No, Bobby Lee just kind of says, oh, I really still love her.
But in fairness, Bobby Lee is remarkably mentally ill.
Bobby Lee, she's the love of my life. We just can't be together.
Bobby Lee has the most mental illness you can possibly have while still being allowed to live alone.
There was an example of a public relationship, much like you and I have. That one split. What's your opinion? Now, should they be talking about each other? I don't know.
Crowder and his wife? Bobby Lee and Kalila. Well, they're both public figures.
Right. So what happens, God forbid, like I said, you and I split. Are you talking about the divorce?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to shit on you endlessly.
I honestly, I would assume that, and I would not be listening.
I don't think so. I didn't I was on the radio when all that was happening, and I didn't really you didn't hear me talk about it.
Well, in fairness, that's probably your least favorite topic, too.
It's not right, but that's my thing.
That's my thing.
Why does Crowder want to talk about this so bad?
Right.
As someone who's been in his shoes before, you should, although I was on more of his wife's end of it than it doesn't matter. It's not something that's...
the roles reversed on that
It's
one.
not something that's enjoyable to talk about.
That's always been my take when I go through a breakup and people have been thinking, I haven't talked about this sometimes. And I'm like, well... Yeah. I just kind of hope that person's fucking off the way I am right now. I don't need, forget my name. I forget yours, and we move on.
Exactly.
That's how adults behave.
All right, so now the audience gets to take bets. Do I knock her up first, or does she leave first? Oh, what is it? I'm leaving because you get fat.
What is this knocking her up business?
Oh.
What?
We haven't told them? Maybe I haven't told you. You took a hot one yesterday. Oh, I should have said something. God,
now that's
damn it.
Dirty. That would be very dirty.
Absolutely filthy. KF with a great point. Why not both, Aaron? Why not both? Knock her up.
Both what?
Knock her up. She gets fat. I leave her.
Well, now I can't have your babies. I'm scared.
Well, I want to see if I can be a bigger heel than Crowder is.